Shalom, and welcome to our third week of Hebrew 2. I'm a little dressed up tonight because in a few minutes I'll be going out to have dinner with my husband and some friends. So if you see the jewelry kind of bangling around, I apologize for that, but at least I'm dressed up for you guys tonight. The one thing that I really want to emphasize in this week is the Cal infinitive construct, and that's going to be chapter 20 in your textbook. This is quite a complicated stem of the Cal, and this is going to be our fourth conjugation that we've learned thus far. We have the Cal perfect, the Cal imperfect, the Cal imperative, and now the Cal infinitive construct. And the Cal infinitive construct, the Hebrew infinitive construct, is it's a verbal noun, and it's not inflected for person or gender or number. So when you parse it, there won't be a third masculine singular or a second feminine plural because it's not it's not inflected for person, gender, or number. There is therefore only one form, and the vowel pattern for the form is consistent for all strong verbs and even for most weak verbs. Note that the basic form of the Cal infinitive construct is identical to the Cal imperative second masculine singular. Now I'm going to tell you in a little bit how you can tell the difference between the Cal infinitive construct and the Cal imperative 2ms. From your book, in Hebrew there are two infinitive forms, the infinitive construct and the infinitive absolute. Infinitives are verbal nouns, and as such they have features that are in common with both verbs and nouns. The infinitive construct can function much like the English infinitive, commonly translated with the preposition to plus a verb, as in to study or to learn. In this chapter, we will study both the form and the function of the Cal infinitive construct. And then in chapter 21, you'll learn about the Cal infinitive absolute. I will tell you this, the Cal infinitive construct shows up a lot more than the Cal infinitive absolute, which is why I'm going to spend our teaching time focusing on the Cal infinitive construct. Here, I want to show you some comparisons between the imperative and the infinitive construct, just so that you can see the difference. And I've got all the different, I have the strong, I have the one guttural, the one aleph, the two guttural, the three het, and the three ayin, and the three aleph listed here. So let's just kind of go through this. Let's just read through these. Zakor, Azav, Amor, Bahar, Shalach, Shemai, Kara. These are all words that you're going to be familiar with. Now, what you'll notice, and I'll try to get this up here close so you can see it, everything in red, that's going to be for the infinitive construct. That's going to be your identifier. Now, you can see that they're identical to the imperative 2ms until you get to the 3 het, and then it begins to change. Now, the O class or the A class stem vowel are the ones that we're looking at right here. The O class stem vowel is maintained, and you see that in Zakor, Azav, Amor, Bachar, and then when you get to Shalach, it begins to change. So the O class stem vowel is maintained, but in the A class, the imperative changes and is different from the imperative. So that's going to be a little bit of a hint there that will help you to distinguish and to identify your Cal infinitive constructs from your Cal imperatives. Now, note that the infinitive construct of the strong verb is identical to the Cal imperative 2ms. There are, therefore, two possible identifications for the Cal infinitive construct or the Cal imperative. Context is going to be the greatest element in helping you to decide whether the word that you're translating is an imperative or a Cal infinitive construct. The vowel pattern for the Cal infinitive construct is consistent for all strong verbs and even for most weak verbs. We saw in those first three O-class verbs, it stays identical. Give special attention to how the Cal infinitive construct compares to the Cal imperative 2MS, especially with the weak verbs. And again, I'll put this paradigm up for you. You can see that with your O-class verbs, which are going to be your Zakor, Azav, and Amor, they remain the same. But then starting with Bachar and going down, the vowel pointings begin to change, and that's going to be those are going to be really about the only changes that you see between the Cal infinitive construct and the Cal imperative 2MS. So that it's not like you're having to memorize or learn anything or a whole lot of anything new. It's just a matter of learning to distinguish between your Cal infinitive constructs and your Cal imperative 2MS. And again, the greatest tell is going to be the context. And that's why I am so driven with your vocabulary. If you know your vocabulary, you know it robotically, then you can begin to identify these words and see how they relate to the other words and then translate according to context. And context in Hebrew will always be your friend. And there's going to be several things that look the same or similar to each other, and it's going to be context that will help you to determine which direction you're going to go with it. Now here are some examples of the Cal infinitive construct with the three hey verb. The infinitive construct of the three hey verb ends with oath, holomois, and ta. For this class of weak verb, you will recall the imperfect forms ends in segol hey, except in those forms with suffirmatives, and that imperative forms end with hey, the 2MS. Now, you must learn that the infinitive constructs of three hey verbs end in the oath or the holomois ta. And what happens is that the hey drops out in the three hey verbs. The hey is going to drop off, and it's going to be replaced with the oath, the holomois tau, that you see there. And so what we have here, let's just look at this, and let's pronounce it together in the infinitive construct form. Bamoth, Bakoth, Aloth, Anath, Asath, Hayoth, and Ra'oth. Now, you're going to need to memorize the Hayoth because that's the verbal form of to be, and it's going to show up all over the place in the Hebrew Bible. And so I recommend that you memorize, if you don't memorize anything else this week except for your vocabulary, of course, I recommend that you memorize the infinitive construct form of haya, which is to be, and of course the infinitive construct is hayoth, and that you become very familiar with that. But what we see here is that again that the hey drops off and you have the oath ending. Now if you're trying to find this word in your lexicon, the only thing that's going to help you is your vocabulary and your memorization of your vocabulary. So again, I say to you, vocabulary, vocabulary, vocabulary. And if you see a word, just try it out. If you see a word like, let's say, benoth, which we translated to build, and the word to build in its lexical form or its verbal root form is bana. And benoth doesn't look anything like bana. But if you see, and you know that bana, you know it has a hey ending, and you might want to just kind of think ahead, okay, I have never seen this word benoth before. There's not a Hebrew word benoth, and I'll look it up in the lexicon, and it's not there. You see that oath ending, and you go, oh, ding, 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 ding. I remember that in the Cal infinitive construct, the hey drops off, and it's replaced with that holomois tau ending, and so I get benoth. And try that out and see if that's a possibility, and check it out in your lexicon. And it can save you many tears and many hours of stressful work and trying to wade your way through things. Now, in the Cal infinitive construct with your three hey weak verbs, The infinitive construct form of three hey verbs ends in the oath, as we just said. Remember, the imperfect forms end in segol hey, except in those forms that have the suffirmatives. Now, if you look here, you see the imperfect ending, segol hey. You see the imperative ending, sere hey, and now your infinitive construct ending, which is your oath. And so knowing these endings will help you a great deal. He will build, that's your imperfect with segol hey. You build, that's your imperative with your sere hey. And then to build or building benoth, that's your infinitive construct. And those endings, it will be very important for you to know those endings and to be familiar with them, so that when you do see them, when they do show up in your translation work, you'll be able to go, oh, that's right. I remember the hey drops out and becomes an oath, and if it's a segol hey, it's this, and if it's a sere hey, it's that. So I'm going to stop there and come right back with part 2 of this.